Chapter 2, Part 4, Dharma over Drama, Duty Without Clinging, Scenes 2:31-38. Scene. The battlefield still trembles with silence. Conch shells have gone quiet. The dust of hesitation hangs thick in the air. Arjuna stands frozen, bow slipping in his hand, weighed down not by the armor, but by the unbearable pull of his heart. On one side, he sees his teachers, elders, cousins, and friends, faces of affection mixed with duty. On the other side, he sees Krishna, unshaken, eyes glowing with a calm certainty. The guru and the disciple stand at the center of the world's greatest conversation. Around them, though unseen, are indirect influences, the hopes of Draupadi, the tears of widows-to-be, the judgment of ancestors, and the silent expectation of future generations who will remember this moment. Will Arjuna collapse under drama or rise into Dharma? Then, Krishna speaks with clarity that cuts through Arjuna's confusion. He does not say, "Fight because you will win," nor does he promise comfort. Instead, he says, "Fight because it is your duty. Fight because it is your Dharma." For a warrior, shirking battle is not compassion, it is dishonor. Death is certain, whether on this field or another, but what endures is the spirit of action aligned with Dharma. Krishna reframes the war, not as a stage for personal victory or loss, but as an arena of Dharma itself. Gain or loss, pleasure or pain, victory or defeat, these dualities must be held in equanimity. What matters is not clinging to the outcome, but standing in the truth of action itself. This is the seed of karma yoga, action without attachment, discipline without drama, offering without expectation. Now, doesn't this echo our modern lives? Think about it. How often do you delay action because you're obsessed with the result? You hesitate to apply for that job because you fear rejection. You avoid difficult conversations because you fear losing respect. You stay in comfort zones because the possibility of failure scares you. In each of these moments, like Arjuna, you freeze. But Krishna's wisdom is timeless. Focus on the action, not the outcome. Outcomes are not fully in your control. They depend on countless variables, including time, destiny, and the actions of others. But the integrity of your effort, your alignment with Dharma, that is always in your hands. Let me ask you directly, have you ever given up on something meaningful because the possible result looked uncertain? Did worrying about what if I lose stop you from playing the game at all? Drop your answer in the comments. I would love to know how Krishna's teaching might speak to your journey. When we practice this teaching, life transforms. Work becomes lighter because the burden of what will happen is gone. Success no longer bloats the ego, and failure no longer breaks the spirit. Imagine how free you would feel if you lived your daily life with equanimity, whether your project succeeds or not. Whether people praise you or criticize you, you stand steady, anchored in action. That is freedom. That is Dharma over drama. Focus. Do your work, drop the clinging. The outcome is never fully yours, but the effort, the alignment with Dharma, always is. This is the essence of Krishna's message. Equanimity in gain and loss, honor in duty, peace in performance. And remember, this wisdom is not just for Arjuna on the battlefield. It is for you in your workplace, in your family, in your daily life. If this message resonates with you, don't just keep it, share it. Comment your thoughts, like this video, and subscribe to the channel. It will help more seekers discover these truths, and together we can spread the light of the Gita. 2.31. Sacred duty or silent betrayal. Scene. The battlefield holds its breath. Arjuna's bow slips lower as his mind reels with doubts. In his heart, he feels torn between love for his kin and the horror of killing them. But in that hesitation, the armies wait. Krishna watches, steady and unyielding, his eyes carrying the weight of ages. Into this silence he speaks, cutting through the fog of Arjuna's despair. Then, Krishna reminds Arjuna that for a warrior, no calling is higher than to fight a righteous war. This is not about greed, revenge, or ambition. It is about Dharma, the order of the world that holds justice together. To abandon this moment is not compassion, it is betrayal. Krishna reframes the battle as more than family politics. It is a sacred opportunity to uphold truth, to protect generations, and to honor his role as a kshatriya. For Arjuna, turning away is not a neutral choice. It is to abandon Dharma itself. Now, how often do we cloak our fear as compassion? We walk away from tough choices, telling ourselves we are keeping peace, when in reality we are avoiding responsibility. a workplace corruption ignored, a family injustice silenced, an ethical battle avoided. All these echo Arjuna's hesitation. Krishna's teaching reminds us, silence can wound as deeply as a sword. Action, when aligned with Dharma, becomes sacred, no matter how uncomfortable it feels. Focus. True compassion is not escape, but courage. To walk away from righteous duty is to betray not just others, but your own soul. The call of Dharma comes rarely, but when it does, the response must be clear. Stand, act, protect. Point 32. The doorway destiny opens. Scene. Krishna's words grow firmer, his tone like thunder rolling over the silent field. Arjuna, head bowed, feels the conflict burn in his chest. Krishna points to something greater. This moment is not a curse, but a divine gift, a doorway that destiny itself has opened before him. Then, Krishna declares that happy are the warriors who find such an unsought opportunity, for it opens the doors of heaven. The war is not merely an accident of politics, but a stage prepared by destiny, where Dharma can be lived fully. Arjuna has been chosen, not punished. This is not an unfortunate burden, but the rarest privilege, to fight for justice with the entire cosmos watching. To turn away would be to reject a divine invitation. Now, we too face doors that appear in the guise of challenges. A painful family duty, a difficult truth to tell, a heavy responsibility at work. They feel like burdens, but they are openings. How often do we mistake opportunities for curses simply because they demand effort, sacrifice, or courage? The Gita flips our thinking. The hardest tasks often carry the highest grace. Challenges are not there to break us, but to reveal us. Focus. Every challenge hides a doorway. If you see only the pain, you will miss the passage. When life lays a burden before you, pause and ask, is this the chance my soul has been waiting for? To step through with courage is to align with Dharma itself. 233. The cost of refusal. Scene. Arjuna's silence thickens, but Krishna does not relent. His voice sharpens, no longer just a friend's comfort, but a guru's medicine. If Arjuna thinks neutrality is possible, Krishna shatters that illusion. Refusal is not harmless. It carries its own weight. Then, Krishna warns him, if he refuses to fight this righteous war, abandoning his duty and honor, he will incur sin. For Arjuna, avoidance is not compassion, it is dereliction. To walk away when Dharma calls is to act against the very order of life. Krishna redefines sin here. It is not about breaking rules, but about rejecting the responsibility that one's role demands. For Arjuna, that responsibility is to protect, to fight, to stand. Silence in the face of injustice is not virtue, it is violence disguised. Now, how often do we excuse ourselves from action? We say, it's not my problem, or I don't want to create conflict, when in truth, we are avoiding responsibility. A parent ignoring their child's destructive habits, a citizen silent in the face of corruption, a leader turning away from abuse. All these are forms of sin born not from action, but from inaction. The Gita reminds us, neutrality in the face of wrong is not noble, it is betrayal. Focus. Avoidance is not innocence. Refusing your Dharma carries consequences, to yourself, to others, and to the world. Sin is not just in harmful deeds, it lies equally in failing to do the good that was yours to do. Point 34. Worse than falling, living with dishonor. Scene. Arjuna raises his eyes, but doubt still clings to him. Krishna now strikes another chord, reputation, honor, and the pain of dishonor. His words cut deep. A warrior's glory is not in survival, but in living aligned with Dharma. And when that honor is lost, it burns worse than death. Then, Krishna tells him, people will speak of his dishonor forever, and for one who has been respected, dishonor is worse than death itself. Arjuna's name, his legacy, the example he sets, all will be stained if he retreats now. The world will not praise him for avoiding bloodshed, it will whisper cowardice. His honor, once lost, cannot be reclaimed. Krishna appeals not only to philosophy but to Arjuna's human heart, reminding him that legacy is not optional. It is the footprint of Dharma. Now, we all leave a mark. What do we want it to be? The world may forget our possessions, but it remembers our integrity. Dishonor is not about gossip. It is the soul's dissonance when we act against our values. Modern psychology calls it inner conflict, the rust of conscience. We know when we betray ourselves, even if the world applauds us. Krishna insists, live aligned with your Dharma, and both society and the soul will find peace. Focus. Dishonor is not external shame alone. It is the inner wound of betraying Dharma. Better to struggle with courage than to live haunted by avoidance. Protect your honor not through pride, but through integrity. That legacy will outlive your body, echoing into generations. 235. The sting of mockery, arrows of words. Scene. Krishna's tone sharpens further. He knows Arjuna's warrior spirit, and he knows what cuts deepest. It is not death, but ridicule. Krishna reminds him that if he withdraws from battle, people will not see compassion, but weakness. The same kings who once trembled at the sound of Arjuna's bow will laugh, whisper, and mock. To a warrior, these taunts pierce sharper than any arrow. Then, Krishna paints a vivid truth. Retreat will not be misunderstood as kindness. It will be remembered as cowardice. Duryodhana and the Kauravas, the very ones who plotted the dice game and insulted Draupadi, will laugh in triumph, saying, "Look, Arjuna is afraid. For a kshatriya, honor is life's breath. Words, when loaded with scorn, can kill faster than weapons." Krishna shows Arjuna that running from Dharma is not just avoidance, but an invitation for humiliation that lingers far longer than wounds. Now, we all fear criticism, sometimes more than failure itself. How often do we let the fear of "what will people say" control us? And equally, how often do we run from our Dharma only to be pierced by those very words we tried to avoid? Mockery is part of life's test. The jeers of others cannot define you, but your response can. If you stand firm in Dharma, their arrows of ridicule shatter harmlessly. If you flee, their words become chains that haunt you. Focus. Ridicule loses its power when Dharma is your compass. Choose integrity over image, duty over the fear of gossip. Let them laugh. Your soul will stand taller than their words. But if you abandon Dharma, those whispers will echo louder than any war cry. 236. The loudest insult. Enemies rejoice. Scene. Krishna presses deeper into Arjuna's heart. He points not only to mockery, but to the delight of enemies. If Arjuna turns back, the very men who plotted deceit, insulted his queen, and dishonored his family will rejoice. Their laughter will carry across the battlefield louder than the conches of war. Then, Krishna reminds him that enemies thrive not only on your defeat, but on your surrender. For Arjuna, to withdraw is to hand victory before the first arrow flies. Imagine the Kauravas celebrating, declaring, "The mighty Arjuna trembled before us." For a warrior, that insult burns beyond measure. Death may silence the body, but dishonor roars louder than life itself. Krishna's point is piercing. The pain of living with betrayal of one's own calling is far heavier than the pain of wounds in battle. Now, in our world, enemies don't always hold swords. Sometimes they hold doubts, competition, jealousy, or injustice. And when we back away from the battles life assigns us, those forces grow stronger. Whether in work, relationships, or inner struggles, surrender to fear fuels the very forces that seek to diminish us. Every time we quit on our Dharma, we give our enemies, outer or inner, reason to celebrate. Focus. Never gift your enemies the joy of your retreat. Let your stand for Dharma speak louder than their schemes. Even if you stumble, rising in courage denies them victory. Retreat gives them your story. Action writes your own. 237. Win or fall, you still rise. Scene. The air between Krishna and Arjuna crackles with urgency. Krishna now presents a truth that pierces all doubt. In this war, Arjuna cannot lose. If he dies, he attains heaven. If he wins, he rules with honor. In both paths, he rises. The only true defeat is not fighting at all. Then, Krishna reframes the battle beyond fear of death or hope of gain. Victory or death, both are blessings when the cause is Dharma. For Arjuna, this means freedom from the paralysis of outcomes. He cannot fail if he acts aligned with his duty. Death is not an end, but a doorway. Victory is not greed, but fulfillment of responsibility. Both paths honor the warrior's life, but hesitation robs him of both. Now, how liberating this is for us too. When you live by Dharma, the outcome no longer enslaves you. If your effort fails, you gain wisdom, resilience, or grace. If your effort succeeds, you gain progress and fulfillment. In both, you win. Life's only true defeat is surrendering to fear before even trying. When you live this way, anxiety shrinks because every path leads upward. Focus. Free yourself from the illusion of loss. In Dharma, even defeat is victory. Step forward, knowing that outcomes are blessings in disguise, wisdom or success, heaven or honor. The only tragedy is choosing paralysis over action. 238. Balance in all, the warrior's yoga. Scene. The tension reaches its peak. Krishna looks directly into Arjuna's eyes and delivers the essence of the teaching. Fight with equanimity. Pleasure or pain, gain or loss, victory or defeat. Let none of these shake you. Perform your duty for duty's sake. This is yoga, the union of action with balance. Then, this verse is the seed of the Gita's philosophy of karma yoga. Krishna tells Arjuna, do not fight for reward, nor flee for fear. Act because it is right. The true warrior is not tossed by outcomes, but rooted in Dharma. This balance, equanimity, is yoga. Arjuna, shaken by grief, is reminded that the highest strength is not only in arms, but in inner stillness. A calm mind makes the sharpest arrow. Now, here lies the heart of our modern struggle. We live outcome-obsessed, promotions, applause, likes, profits. Our peace rises and falls with results. But Krishna's wisdom dissolves that prison. Do the work, release the grip on results. Equanimity is power. Imagine living free from anxiety about success or fear of failure. That is the warrior's yoga, the path to both peace and performance. Focus. The secret of freedom is balance. Anchor yourself in Dharma, act with courage, release the clinging. Let victory or defeat knock at your door, but don't let them shake your soul. This is yoga in its highest form, union with your own unshakable center. Summary: Dharma over drama, duty without clinging, 231 to 238. Scene: the battlefield of Kurukshetra has fallen silent around Arjuna and Krishna. After piercing Arjuna's despair with the truth of the eternal self, 211-230, Krishna now shifts his strategy. He appeals not just to philosophy but to Arjuna's very identity as a warrior, as a kshatriya. These verses are no longer about metaphysics alone. They are about honor, dharma, social duty, and the unshakable power of equanimity. The sound of the conches fades. What remains is Krishna's relentless voice, dismantling every excuse, stripping Arjuna of hesitation, and forging him into the warrior of destiny. Then, Krishna begins by showing Arjuna that his dharma as a warrior is not optional but sacred, 231-233. To abandon battle is not compassion, it is betrayal of his nature, his lineage, and his calling. Krishna strikes where it hurts, the dishonor of being mocked, 234-236. He paints a picture of enemies laughing, whispering, taunting, words sharper than arrows, wounds that never heal. Arjuna must see that the price of withdrawal is worse than death itself. Then comes the liberation. Win or fall, he still rises, 237. Victory brings honor, death brings heaven. The only true defeat is surrender to fear. Finally, Krishna delivers the jewel. Act with balance, in victory or defeat, in gain or loss, 238. This is yoga. This is freedom. This is the warrior's path beyond drama into dharma. Now, how does this echo in our lives today? These verses are not about swords and arrows. They are about the battles you and I face daily. Each of us has a dharma, a duty, a responsibility we cannot abandon without consequence. When we run from our calling, it is not compassion. It is avoidance dressed in polite excuses. People may not laugh openly, but life itself mocks us when we betray our truth. The sting of ridicule comes from colleagues, family, or even our own inner critic. Like Arjuna, we fear their arrows of judgment. Krishna reminds us, mockery is survived, but regret is unbearable. Enemies today take many forms: doubts, addictions, social pressures, injustice. They celebrate every time we quit, every time we say not today, every time we choose comfort over courage. The joy of our enemies is the echo of our surrender. But Krishna's wisdom liberates. If we align with Dharma, we cannot lose. Failures become lessons, victories become progress. Both are blessings. This dissolves anxiety because the one thing that can truly destroy us, inaction born of fear, is no longer an option. The ultimate teaching arrives in verse 238. Live with balance. Act with all your heart, but drop the grip on outcomes. This is the warrior's yoga, the path for all seekers in every age. Focus. The essence of 231 to 238 is a radical call to freedom. Dharma is not about rigid roles, but about living true to your highest responsibility. Abandonment of duty is worse than defeat. Mockery is powerless when Dharma is your compass. Enemies, outer or inner, cannot rejoice when you stand firm in courage. And once you see life as win or win, the grip of anxiety begins to fade. The highest jewel of this section is equanimity, yoga as balance. To act without clinging to results is to live free. Imagine your own life today. How many of your choices are chained to fear of judgment, obsession with outcomes, or the terror of loss? What would happen if you did your work with full integrity, but let go of applause and fear alike? That is Krishna's challenge, and his gift. So take a pause here. Ask yourself, what is your Dharma right now? Is it your role as a parent, a leader, a student, a seeker? Where are you running from responsibility under the disguise of compassion or comfort? And where are you clinging too tightly to results, losing peace in the process? Remember Krishna's words, your enemies celebrate when you retreat. Don't give them that gift. Remember too, in Dharma, even so-called failure is a step upward. Don't deny yourself that freedom. And most of all, victory and defeat, gain and loss, praise and blame, they are all waves. Let them rise, let them fall. You, anchored in Dharma, are the ocean. Live with courage, live with balance, live with equanimity. And if this message resonates, share it forward. Let others hear Krishna's call too. Subscribe, like, and comment, not just for us, but to spread this timeless wisdom so that more seekers can find strength in their own battles. Together, let us walk the path of Dharma over drama.